Hello friends, in this session we are going to learn the anatomy of axilla or the armpit. The objectives of the session includes the location of axilla, the boundaries of axilla, and the contents, the cadaveric discussion of the axillary contents, and finally a few clinicals related to the axillary region. Coming to the location, axilla is a pyramidal space located between the upper part of arm and the lateral wall of thorax. The lateral wall of thorax. In adducted position of arm, the axilla forms a narrow space where a definitive armpit is not seen. Whereas in abducted position, this is the abducted position of arm, the axilla forms a definitive armpit bounded anteriorly with the anterior axillary fold and posteriorly with the posterior axillary fold. That is about location. Coming to the boundaries of axilla, as it is a pyramidal space, this is a pyramidal space, it will have an apex, a base, and four walls: the anterior wall, the lateral wall, the medial wall, and the posterior wall. Here you can see the apex, the base, the anterior wall, lateral wall, medial wall, and posteriorly the posterior wall. Coming to the apex, it is also called the inlet of axilla, as it allows the neurovascular structures into the axilla from root of neck, from neck to axilla. Hence, it is also called the cervicoaxillary canal. It is also called cervicoaxillary canal, as it allows structures from cervix, the neck, to the axilla. Okay, and coming to the base, it is also called the floor of axilla, and it is formed by the skin, superficial fascia, and the axillary fascia. Now let's have a discussion in detail about the apex and all other walls. Coming to the apex, it is bounded, it is also called the cervicoaxillary canal, and it is bounded by scapula, the superior margin of scapula posteriorly, by the posterior wall of clavicle anteriorly, and by the lateral margin of the first rib medially. This is a triangular space enclosed by three structures: the posterior margin of the superior margin of scapula, the posterior wall of clavicle, and the lateral margin of the first rib. Coming to the anterior wall, this is formed by pectoralis major, pectoralis minor, and subclavius, and also a fascia that encloses the subclavius and pectoralis minor and runs in between them, and also forms the suspensory ligament of axilla, that is nothing but our clavipectoral fascia. These four structures together forms the anterior wall. Coming to the posterior wall, the posterior wall is formed by subscapularis muscle, the latissimus dorsi, teres major, and also the long head. Here you can see the long head of triceps brachii. These four structures forms the posterior wall. And coming to the medial wall, this is formed by upper thoracic wall, the and the upper four digitations of serratus anterior, and also the intercostal spaces included over here. And coming to the lateral wall of this is our humerus. Imagine this is our humerus, and the intertubercular sulcus with its two lips forms the lateral wall of axilla, where it gives attachment to P major on the lateral lip, teres major on the medial lip, and latissimus dorsi on the floor. Latissimus dorsi, and these structures along with the intertubercular sulcus will forms the lateral wall. Here you can see axilla clearly, and here will be the apex, and these are the anterior wall, posterior wall, lateral wall, and the medial wall. Now let's again revise the boundaries. The inlet, also called the apex, is formed by the lateral margin of rib 1, clavicle, and the superior margin of scapula up to the coracoid process. And coming to the floor, is formed by skin, also by the superficial fascia and axillary fascia. And coming to the anterior wall, it's formed by pectoralis major and minor muscles, subclavius, and the clavipectoral fascia. Whereas the posterior wall is formed by the subscapularis muscle, teres major, the latissimus dorsi, and also the long head of triceps brachii muscle. And medial wall formed by the upper thoracic wall and the serratus anterior upper four digitations, and lateral wall by the intertubercular sulcus and muscles attached to it. Now let's see the contents of axilla. The contents of axilla includes artery, vein, nerves, and other structures. Not only about the contents of axilla, wherever you will be getting the contents, whether any content of a space or content of any triangle, it includes arteries, veins, nerves, lymphatics, and other structures. Artery of axilla includes the axillary artery. The vein is axillary vein and its tributaries. The nerves includes the cords of brachial plexus, long thoracic nerve, and the intercostobrachial nerve. Coming to the lymphatics of axilla, it is formed by axillary lymph nodes, whereas other structures includes the axillary fat, which forms the bulk of the axilla, and also the axillary tail of spines, which is the tail of breast that pierces the deep fascia and enters the axilla. There are separate video sessions for axillary artery, axillary vein, and the brachial plexus. And in this session, I will deal clearly about the axillary lymph nodes. And coming to axillary lymph nodes, there are around 20 to 30 nodes located in this axillary region called as axillary lymph nodes. These are divided into 5 groups based upon their location. First, the lateral group is also called the humeral group, located in the upper part of humerus, and the anterior group or the pectoral group located in the pectoral region lateral to the lower border of pectoralis minor, the posterior group or the subscapular group located anterior to the subscapularis muscle, the central group located deep in the axilla, and the apical group located below the clavicle deep to the clavipectoral fascia. So let's discuss individual group. Anterior group or pectoral group. This lies along the lower border of pectoralis minor. Here you can see the lower border of pectoralis minor. These are anterior group or pectoral group, and these lie in close relationship with the lateral thoracic vein, and these receive lymphatics from major part of breast, and from the upper half of trunk anteriorly. From the anterior upper half of trunk to the anterior upper half of trunk. And one more thing, a clinical thing about anterior or pectoral group is that the axillary tail of spines, that is the tail of breast, lies in close relationship with this group of lymph nodes. So whenever there is malignant growth in the axillary tail of spines, this can be misdiagnosed as the enlarged lymph node. Okay. So coming to the posterior group or the subscapular group, this lie on the anterior part of the subscapularis muscle, the posterior axillary fold, and these lie in close relationship with subscapular vein. This is a subscapular vein, and these receive lymphatics from the posterior upper half of trunk, and also from the axillary tail of spines. And next, the lateral group. These lie along the upper part of humerus in close relationship with the axillary vein, and these receive lymphatics from entire upper limb. That is about lateral group. And coming to the central group, these are situated in the upper part of axilla deeply, and these receive lymphatics from the anterior group, the posterior group, and the lateral group. These drain into the central group of lymph nodes, and this gives reference to the apical group of lymph nodes. And a clinical relation about the central group is that the intercostobrachial nerve, after piercing the second thoracic wall, it passes through this group of lymph nodes. So whenever there is enlargement of the central group of lymph nodes, the intercostobrachial nerve can get compressed, and this can cause a pain in the area of distribution of the nerve, that is the inner border of the arm. And next, the apical group or the infraclavicular group. These are located below the clavicle and deep to the clavipectoral fascia. These receive lymphatics from the breast indirectly via the central group. So all the lymphatics from the breast drain into this anterior group, the posterior group, and then further these lymph nodes drain into the central group, which drain into apical group of lymph nodes. And this also receive lymphatics from the upper border of breast. Here you can see the lymphatics going from upper border of breast to the apical group, and also the deep lymphatics of breast also drains into the apical group by piercing the clavipectoral fascia. That is about the lymphatics from the apical group to the apical group. And apical group give difference to supraclavicular nodes, and this finally go and drain into subclavian trunk and thoracic duct. Subclavian trunk on the right side, this is the lymph trunk, and thoracic duct on the left side. Okay. And here is another type of classification of axillary lymph nodes. Here, based upon the location, these are also divided into level 1, level 2, and level 3. This is mainly, so this is about pectoralis minor. So lymph nodes located to the lateral to the lower border of pectoralis minor are classified as level 1, and lymph nodes located medially to the upper border of pectoralis minor are classified as level 3, and lymph nodes located behind the pectoralis minor are classified as level 2. And one more clinical name for the lymph nodes is the sentinel lymph nodes. So the lymphatics from the breast, so which lymph nodes first receive the lymphatics from the breast are classified as named as the sentinel lymph nodes. Sentinel lymph nodes. Coming to the intercostobrachial node. This is the lateral cutaneous branch of the second intercostal node. It is a lateral cutaneous branch of the second intercostal node, and the intercostal nodes will be clearly discussed in thorax region. So, coming to intercostobrachial node over here, it is a lateral cutaneous branch of the second thoracic node. It pierces the second thoracic wall at the second intercostal space and enters axilla, and it has its course throughout the axilla, passing amongst the central group of lymph nodes, and at the part of near to the arm, it joins with the medial cutaneous branch of arm to give supply to the medial side of the upper part of arm, and this also supplies the floor of axilla. Now let's have the cadaveric discussion on the axillary region. This is the transverse section of axilla. This is transverse section at axillary region, and here is our axillary region cavity, and others are the muscles and bones surrounding it. And here you can see our humerus, and this is scapula. This is scapula, this transverse section, and the humerus. This will be the medial side, and this will be the lateral side. This is posterior side, and this is anterior side. So coming to muscles surrounding this region, here you can see the deltoid muscle extending up to over here. Deltoid muscle. This will form our deltoid muscle. And posterior to scapula, at this section lies the infraspinatus, and the teres minor laterally, and over here lies the long head of triceps brachii. This is long head of triceps brachii. And coming to other muscles, here is the fused part of coracobrachialis and short head of biceps brachii. And over here at the intertubercular sulcus lies the tendon of biceps, long head of biceps brachii, tendon of long head. And this intertubercular sulcus over here forms the lateral wall of axilla. And coming to the medial wall, here you can see serratus anterior. This is serratus anterior muscle. This is the rib at this level, and here are the intercostal muscles located. These are intercostal muscles, and this forms the medial wall of axilla. The anterior wall, here is the pectoralis major, P major, and here is our pectoralis minor muscle forming the anterior wall, and posteriorly there lies the subscapularis muscle in front of scapula. This forms the posterior part of axilla. That's about the transverse section of axilla. And from here I will discuss the superficial to deep dissection of axilla, and this is the superficial dissection, this superficial part. So whenever the pectoralis major is reflected and superficially axillary region is dissected, first we will be seeing the bulk region, axillary fat. This forms the bulk of axillary region with axillary nodes, axillary lymph nodes embedded in this fat. In the superficial part we will be seeing the intercostobrachial nerve. Here is our intercostobrachial nerve. Here you can see it's piercing the thoracic wall and entering the axillary region. By this feature you can identify the intercostobrachial nerve. This will pierce the thoracic wall and enters the axillary region. And here lies the long thoracic nerve. The long thoracic nerve. You can see over here it is running on the serratus anterior. It runs laterally on the serratus anterior. These are the structures you will be seeing on the superficial dissection. While going deeply, more the pectoralis minor is reflected, and here axillary sheath is separated. This is axillary sheath in which the neurovascular structures coming to the axillary region are present. And here you can see these are a median nerve, which is a branch of brachial plexus, is separated, and this blue color structure will be our axillary vein. And other structures also can be seen over here: the intercostobrachial nerve and the long thoracic nerve. And when we go more deeply and the structures from axillary sheath are separated, you can see over here this is the axillary vein. And here you can see the intercostobrachial nerve coming, and it will merge with the medial cutaneous nerve of arm. And here is our long thoracic nerve, and these are tributaries of the axillary vein draining into it. Here axillary vein was injected with a dye to show clearly, but mainly in your cadaveric specimen this will be in the same color with the nerves and arteries surrounding it, so it can be easily identified only with the help of the obliterated lumen. You can see clearly the axillary vein is with the obliterated lumen because walls are not thicker as that of artery. And here you can see from axillary sheath the axillary artery was separated. This is axillary artery, and surrounding there are the parts of brachial plexus and the branches of brachial plexus. And in this part the axillary vein was removed. to show clearly the branches and the axillary artery. There is an axillary artery, and surrounding there are the parts of brachial plexus. Here on the surrounding to the medial part, this is our medial cord, and laterally there lies our lateral cord, and posteriorly there will be the posterior cord of brachial plexus. These are about the contents. And coming to the clinical correlations of axilla, first the palpation of axillary lymph nodes. Why is it necessary to palpate these nodes? So axillary lymph nodes are major group of lymph nodes. These receive lymphatics from the upper part of our trunk, both anteriorly and posteriorly, from the upper limb and also from the breast. And because these are draining from a lot of regions, so whenever there is any malignant growth in any part of the territory of the drainage, and this involves the axillary lymph nodes, and the lymph nodes will be enlarged. So hence the palpation is very necessary. So you can watch this. First you have to palpate on the lateral edge of pectoralis major muscle on the anterior axillary fold, and next the medial border on the thoracic wall, and now on the posterior axillary fold on the latissimus dorsi muscle, and now on the humerus on the lateral axillary fold. And by this you can palpate all, and by pushing against the apex you can palpate the apical group of lymph nodes. Coming to axillary abscess. Axillary abscess is due to if there is any infection or suppression of the axillary lymph nodes, it causes abscess, and this abscess grows to considerable size until the patient feels any pain. If the pus of the axillary abscess enters the axillary sheath, the pus can be tracked into, it can track into the root of neck and also to the upper limb. And if this pus is going to pierce the clavipectoral fascia, it breaks through the clavipectoral fascia, then it can travel between the pectoral muscles to enter the pectoral region. Hence this axillary abscess has to be drained by placing an incision in the floor of axilla, because this is the most dependent part, and the incision should be between the anterior and posterior axillary folds and more closer to the medial wall. Thank you friends. If you like this video, like it and share it, and you can give me your support by subscribing to my channel and giving your reviews in the comment section.